Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome to In Time. My name is Nicholas Lamar Suter. With me today is 𝐒𝐤𝐿𝐴, and we're going to cover a story that has actually been going on for quite some time. This is something that we've wanted to talk about. If you've been on our Discord, you've seen it and you've been able to follow it. If you haven't, come join our Discord and you can catch up with us and see what's been going on. But this is about really a rather remarkable series of riots in England, and we're not used to. We've covered riots in any number of places, from Israel to the U.S. We're not used to covering them in any significant, or needing to cover them in any significant way in England, and yet here we are. So, 𝐒𝐤𝐿𝐴, have you heard much about these riots, and what have you heard?
I've heard a little bit. Apparently, there's a bit of a disagreement going on. I guess we can supposed to be able to disagree in peace and harmony, and that's not seeming to happen. And it seems like riots are kind of the go-to these days. I've been seeing a whole bunch of different videos on X, formerly known as Twitter. So some of them are very concerning, and it'd be really nice to be able to get a better view on exactly what's going on there. I mean, Bangladesh just went down, and we have going on riots in England, not a place I normally think of as being a riotous place.
Yeah, you had said, to try to solve things peacefully in England is you so much more think of except when you watch their parliament. Their parliament is really fun. It's fun to hear them insult each other. You're like, you can get away with that in England, but yeah. So we're going to show in the center, and what you're about to see, actually, I think, yeah, this is it right now. They're stopping cars here, and they're checking to see if the drivers are white. If they're white, they're letting them pass. If they're not, they are not letting them pass. You're going to see several different kinds of videos of that. We have a few other videos that we're going to show you. Center screen is going to be a loop of those videos. But we also have with us 𝐒𝐿𝐴 today, and he's going to guide us through what he's been seeing and what is happening. 𝐒𝐿𝐴, are you there?
Yeah. Nice to be here.
Well, thank you very much for joining us. So, first of all, where are you?
I'm in. Oh no, how do I say this without resorting to vulgarity? I'm in a small place in the middle of Scotland. But yeah, we'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, I don't need your street address. We've already dropped that in the live chat. Anybody who has anything to disagree with him, just his street address is right there. Just go up, and if you disagree with what he says on the show, take it up with him. So when did this start, and why?
It was pretty much a total, complete tragedy. As far as I'm aware, this is where the trail of misinformation starts from. In Southport, there was a man attacked a Taylor Swift holiday-themed club. He killed 3 young children and injured several more, and several adults. What came from that was, because this person happened to have brown skin, that he was a Muslim immigrant, which he wasn't. He was a British-born Christian from Wales. He just happened to have immigrant parents, and it's just escalated from there. I mean, the first big one was actually in Southport itself. People decided to take it upon themselves to attack a local mosque not far from where people were leaving flowers and things for the victims. And it's just escalated from there. There's rumored that Tommy Robinson, quite a famous character over here, has somehow been egging them on from abroad. I don't know how much truth there is in that. But yeah, as I say, essentially that's where it started from. Is just this horrific tragedy, and then people got the wrong end of the stick through whatever reasons, or just chose to believe the wrong end of the stick and went bananas over it.
So it was a knife attack by a native British citizen, killing 3 young girls.
Yeah.
And because he had dark skin. His parents had, in fact, immigrated over. The assumption appears to have been, or there was misinformation, that it was an attack by a Muslim or by Muslims and or by immigrants, and that has started what you're seeing here. We're about to see some footage too. There have been a number of cases of mobs seeing somebody with darker skin and literally chasing them down and beating them with whatever they have. We are going to see some of that footage in just a minute, and some of the audio for that is really quite shocking. And there's a lot of immigrants go home. The entire problem is immigrants. So now I know a lot of countries, the U.S. faces its own concern with immigrants because of immigrants fleeing various forms of sectarian violence in the Middle East. They have been going to a number of countries. France has had a lot of concern over the number of immigrants that the influx there. The UK has had that concern. Is this, do you think, coming from just a larger smoldering concern over immigrants, and now it doesn't even really matter whether or not he was Muslim or British, or is this some other excuse, or is this a proxy war between the far left and the far right in the UK?
Honestly, I don't know. I mean, I think a lot of the blame has to be put at the feet of the Conservatives the last couple of years. I mean, but especially with this, let's send everybody to Rwanda, and some people actually in the House of Commons saying that we should just leave the people in the small boats to drown and things like that. It's like the South Park. They're coming to take our jobs. Is essentially the entire rhetoric here. Yeah, we do have I suppose I wouldn't say a crisis at the moment, but there are a lot more immigrants trying to get here.
And following the legal immigration process, you don't actually have a particularly large problem of illegal immigration, do you?
Not as far as I know. Again, it's hard to sift through the weeds of what. Again, I blame a lot of the Conservatives for this, because they're just blowing these problems out of proportion. I genuinely don't. I don't know what anybody's individual reason for this would be, other than just sheer hatred. For example, they probably come around in the clip. Eventually, they tried to set fire to a hotel that had innocent people in it. There was kids at the window. Terrified the hell out of these children who have just came from God knows where.
So let's talk about that then.
Sorry, carry on.
Well, yeah, let's talk about that, and then we'll also pass it on to 𝐒𝐻𝐿𝐴𝐴𝐻𝐿. I have a couple questions left, but I noticed I always get all the good questions and leave 𝐒𝐻𝐿𝐴𝐻𝐿 with all the I've asked all the questions now. 𝐒𝐻𝐿𝐴𝐻𝐿, how about you? Do you have any? And you're like, thanks. The guy with his hand on the mute button has graciously. But so we'll. I do want to talk. Let's talk about that hotel for a minute, which is that there are ways to legally immigrate. Obviously, there are asylum seekers, people who risk getting killed if they don't find somewhere to flee to, and the government puts them up temporarily. And there has been now so many of them that they have been putting them up even in private locations or places that volunteer. So could you tell us about that hotel?
Nope. 2 seconds, I'll just grab that. I did have it open, but I seem to have lost it. So from what I've seen, just basically watching the news in Tamworth, they said they were leading. They think they'd smashed windows and were throwing bins that were on fire into them.
So that hotel had actually was that a bed and breakfast that had volunteered? So these were private citizens who volunteered to take people who were legally going through the process of immigration into their home, and then one of those was set on fire as well.
Yeah, a Holiday Inn Express in Tamworth.
Yeah.
petrol bombs and fireworks were also thrown at police during this particular incident. That was Sunday night, according to the BBC article.
And quoting that article, you had said that they could actually see children in the windows, and that so they're setting fire to a building that has families in it.
Yeah. Not to mention a lot of the people that actually work in that building as well.
All right. We have a super chat. So for £5, yes, I actually got that one right this time for once. Hi, Nick. It's 𝐒𝐚𝐦𝐚𝐫. Hi, Nick. Speaking as a Brit, I really appreciate you talking about this. Thank you very much for that. I'm only sorry that we didn't get to it sooner. We are going to stay on it, and it's obviously very, very important. But thank you very much for the super chat. Those really do help us out a lot. So I appreciate that. And hopefully, hopefully talking about it helps. We'll get to that. But before we do, is Andrew, any questions that you have, or anything that stands out at you that you wanted to talk about?
Well, I know watching the some of the coverage of it on different media platforms, it appears that it's like the entire island is on fire and that people are everywhere just bashing at each other. How widespread is the actual protests that are going on and rioting that's going on? Is it consuming entire towns, or is it just like a small area of a town and it just appears to be huge?
It's kind of hard to say. I mean, there are a lot of locations. I don't know within all these locations how widespread it is, and a lot of them have been like in the main city centres, main streets, and things like that. And again, they are in a lot of cities. But I think the police are keeping them quite well, as contained as they possibly can.
Has there been anything close to this in somewhat recent past, or is this unprecedented?
For the sheer amount of locations it's happening in, that's I would certainly say that was unusual. And some of the things that they've been doing, as we've mentioned, the hotel getting set on fire, and they're stopping people in their cars just because they look brown. I've never seen them be this brazen about it before.
I will say this one, it isn't funny. It does kind of look funny, but it's also just really amazing that so we're going to show this. A guy hurls his body through the air. So what's happening here is they're chasing somebody who ostensibly their skin color is not the correct color. They catch up with him once he's on the ground. A guy hurls his own body through the air to jump onto him. It is pretty, and you're about to see it. He pounces up off the. I mean, this is utterly insane. Anyway, sorry, I did cut you off, Xander. I don't know if you had other questions or.
Oh, it was just from the coverage. It sounds like this is one step away from being like a fully engulfed civil war going on, and I always want to be careful about how involved is it actually, because after 2020 in the United States, looking at many of the protests that ended up turning violent, when you got down and looked at what was going on and exactly where it was, it ended up being, wow, that's actually a very small area, and it made it seem like it was so much larger than it often was. And I get that same kind of impression just from watching the coverage of this on different social media platforms. So it's a lot nice to be able to get somebody who's a lot closer who can say, yeah, I'm not really worried about going to the store, or I have bolted all my doors and I'm hiding in the basement type of, what level have we gotten to? Because this is a kind of an unusual place for large scale rioting to go on. I wouldn't have expected this in the middle of England.
Yeah, I mean, we've always had our problems with with sort of civil disputes like this, like any other place. But yeah, as I said before, it's just it's unusual to see them take it this far.
Well,
there's been a lot of looting and things going on as well.
It sounds like it's escalated well past the. I mean, again, it started with just a horrific act, a murder, but a murder. Unfortunately, it's important that the nationality of the person who did it is a nationally born Brit, and nonetheless, it got fomented as well. It was a Christian as well. Nonetheless, it was okay. It was a Muslim immigrant, and now all of this has exploded. So let me ask you, and this is I stopped this one. Get out of England. It's become more than just about obviously the deaths of the three girls. So let me ask you. You're looking at this now. How is the government handling this? It looks like the police are getting overwhelmed in a number of the scenes that we're seeing here. They're basically sort of falling back, and a couple occasions they're maybe pushing forward, but at least as many times they're falling back. How does it look like it's being handled?
I'm honestly not sure it is. They've had COBRA meetings and sort of threatened people with heavy sentences and things like that, but ultimately it's the police that are taking the brunt of this. They were talking about it, sort of changing, or sort of this would apply to sort of like national security type things, which would probably end up with people getting terrorism charges.
So your prime minister, yeah, please.
No, I'm honestly not sure if it will get to that point. I mean, setting fire to a hotel with people in it is horrific. I just don't know how they're going to make the leap from that to domestic terrorism. I'm
going to go back on this video just a little bit here. I mean, this would terrify the living. I mean, if I was just going down the street and just saw this group of people, I mean, I don't care what color or I would ask them, like, who are you looking for? Because that would terrify me. Yeah. So at this point, your prime minister has, in fact, as I understand it, proposed that he's going to sort of escalate, at least legally, what this is considered. So instead of just riots, that this is considered a national security issue, or was that correct?
Yeah, that was just today on BBC and Sky News. Sorry, I heard them talking about that. So. For all I know, the decision's changed by now, or they may be moving forward with it.
So now, if they do that, that would allow them to anyone that they arrest, which I haven't. I mean, I know a few have been arrested. Presumably, there's been the complaints that I've seen on social media. So there's no way to verify or know. The complaints that I've seen is they're, quote, arresting the wrong people. They're, somebody will attack a Muslim guy and they're arresting the Muslim guy. I don't know if that's true or not. That may have, if that happened just once by accident, then social media will make sure everybody believes that is the norm and that it's deliberate. So I don't know. The very few things that I've heard of arrests actually being made have not sounded productive either in either case. So yeah.
Wizard of Ooze in the chat made a good comment there. It's worth mentioning. They have drafted in police from other parts of the country to help. There have been people moved out from Scotland and from other areas where there isn't any trouble to reinforce them. So
they're reinforcing the police. If they turn this into essentially a national crisis, or declare that there is a national crisis, so what this would empower them to do, first of all, is to say the people that they do arrest, they can now charge with terrorism charges. Absolutely, if you're setting fire to a place that has people in it, aside from murder, attempted murder, yada yada, if you're doing it for political reasons, which in this case would be to protest immigrants, then it's the terrorist charge seems quite defensible. But if not all of this, in my view, would necessarily fall under that. At any rate, it sounds like he's going to then get expanded powers to deal with this, including, if I'm not mistaken, bringing in the military. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's as someone pointed out in the chat a few minutes ago, we don't have like a National Guard type system here. So calling in the military for most situations is extremely unusual. I personally don't know if the military would be bound by the same rules as the police. So I would not like to be anywhere near the rioters when they get involved. Not to say they're going to come and shooting or anything, but you're going to get picked up and you're going to get held for a long time without finding out what's happening.
All right. So, and
well, that seems also a
godless,
pretty big escalation as well. Oh, go ahead.
No, please. Mine is.
Oh, it just seemed that's seems like a pretty big escalation of events too. Because if I'm not mistaken, there's many police aren't armed in the UK, and then they have armed squads as well. If you bring in the military, they are all armed.
Yeah.
So, and one of the sayings, I'm sure it's probably done everywhere, but I hear it so much in the US is, when you have a hammer, every problem looks like a nail. So if all your tool sets includes, and one of the criticisms of law enforcement in the United States is they're all armed. So if everybody is armed and those are the tools that you have, the first inclination is to use those tools to solve the problem. So that does seem like a pretty big escalation of response to these. So I mean that seems to point in the direction that these are pretty dang serious and widespread.
Yeah, I mean it is unlikely, although the rumors have been floating around. I don't know if that's just pure speculation. I would imagine so, but it's highly unlikely the military would ever get involved. If they do, it's probably just going to be to man water cannons and basically form human barricades.
Wizard of Ooze makes a couple of points, so I'm very glad to hear this. Because of UK history with Northern Ireland and domestic terrorism from the IRA, we probably have a very different view of what terrorism is. That's a spectacular point. The US has completely ignored terrorism until 2001. What we didn't as a government, as a people, we did. And then 𝐍𝐤𝐜𝐴𝐜 says 400, if not more, at this point have been arrested, which in the UK 400 is a pretty significant number. During the Black Lives Matter protests, that would be a drop in the bucket for the number of people involved. But I think in this, that strikes me as being a reasonably significant number. So glad to be updated on that. Did I interrupt anybody for that or not?
I don't think so.
Okay. All right. So, from what are your number one concerns, Ascalon, right now as you look at this and see it going forward?
It's just taking a divisive situation and making it even worse. Britain's had immigrants for a long time. For the most part, we've all sort of lived and gotten on. I'm not a fan of nationalism whatsoever. I'm genuinely scared more people are going to get hurt and people are going to get killed. The Tories were already trying to crack down on peaceful legal protests beforehand. I don't know where that's going to go within that avenue, if the government will take that any further. It's hard to predict where it's going to go, apart from down the toilet for the next few days.
Right, and let me just, sorry, I just got the, oh, that's worth knowing. All right, I will, double check on that. Thank you, Titan, and then we'll, if we can confirm that, I'll get that up as soon as possible. Azandering, any thoughts from you on this as we start to wrap this up.
How is the media over the last few years? I mean, generally speaking, you don't get these kinds of riots out of nowhere. So it seems like this is, or has been claimed that this is a buildup of frustration of the native Brits not feeling like their voices were heard in their government, and their government, essentially doing whatever they wanted to instead of listening to what the common citizens wanted. Is that been your experience in there? I mean, what do you think led up to this?
I wish I'd thought of this before we came on. Someone put a great collage together of all the Daily Mail's headlines over the last couple of weeks, and yeah, they're colourful. Let's just say that they're certainly leaning one way more than the other, and it's front page headlines. Some of them have been quite bad, basically just stoking the flames.
There was I thought kind of a heartwarming video that we had been considering playing on the cold open for this, of a Muslim who said, "You know what? If you're gonna tear down our mosques, we're gonna tear down your churches." And he grabs a brick, turns around, and he's got a mask on, and just takes the mask off and goes, "Are you kidding me? No, I'm not going to do. Of course, I'm not going to do that. This church has been here as long as any Muslim. This is part of we're here." And he gave what I thought was a very good message, but he also said some things that were questionable. So in the end, we decided not to go with it. But it was clearly he was trying to say, he wanted to de-escalate this, and that people should that any escalation was really helping people who wanted to try to divide England. Who right now, if you can guess, Askel, just taking a look at it, would stand to benefit from escalating this? And okay, so if there's a newspaper that's coming out and appears to be stoking the flames, when there are ways to de-escalate this, who stands to benefit, do you think, from this continuing?
I mean, my first thought would be, yeah, as 𝐒𝐚𝐬 in the chat has said, Nigel Farage, he's pretty much top of my list for people that are, this is what they wanted, sort of thing. There's the Tory government has just been bounced out of the House of Commons. You know what I mean? This is a great opportunity to point at Labour and go, look, they're not doing anything. This is worse. Obviously, the media, they're going to sell a lot of stuff by covering these stories. Yeah, I mean, there's a whole trickle down thing there. But yeah, I would put Farage at the top of my list.
So is this then possibly a bit of a rebound by the far right for the recent victories by the left?
Yeah, I mean, I won't go so far as say this has all been orchestrated. It's just been, they've said the right things at the right time and annoyed the right people, and then
a rebound, not a deliberate like pushing, but that's why I used the word rebound, was to try to make sure I'm not suggesting that they sat there and said, it's not Machiavellian, but now there's an opportunity, and they're like, you see, we told you, and then something like that. Is that fair, or is that?
There seems to be a phrase that comes to mind that I seem to have heard recently over the past. What was that? Never let a disaster go to waste.
Never let a. It sounds familiar, but I'm not pulling it. Never let a good PR opportunity. Never let a crisis go to. I don't know.
Crisis, that's what it was. Yeah, never let a crisis go to waste.
Yeah, just Bregwin.
Bregwin got it in the chat. Yeah, Karl Rove.
Yep. Oh, of course, that was fucking Rove. Oh, I should have guessed that. I should have just been able to say who said that. And it's like, I can't think of anyone. I enjoyed the time that I forgot that little twerp existed. All right. So do we have any final thoughts before we wrap up?
I mean, if anybody's watching in these affected areas, then please don't get hurt. If you see something, report it and get the hell out of the way. Just make sure you stay safe.
And you had made a good point. One of the reasons we did not show that video earlier is the man said, don't commit any violence, defend our mosques. And I was just like, whoa. I get very concerned with the use of the word defend. And you had pointed this out, which is that no property is worth human life. If somebody's going to burn down the mosque, they're going to burn down the mosque. Let's see. In Tom Wizard of Oz, I somewhat disagree. The fake initial report allegedly arose from an outlet established by Russian influences. That would not shock me. We've been working on several long-term shows on the overall influence of Russian disinformation and how it's spread, and it is so huge that we've currently broken it up into 5 separate pre-recorded shows. It's big, and it would not surprise me in the slightest. I wasn't suggesting that it isn't orchestrated, only I did not want to suggest that it was, if you understand the difference. All right. Xandering, any final thoughts?
Oh, I've got so many different thoughts. The problem is the answers are delving into people's minds and motivations, and that's incredibly difficult to do. And so it's probably going to take a long time to try and work out what's actually going on and the motivations behind what a lot of people are doing. So it definitely seems a mess, and I hope people will just stay away from it. It's the whole point that I had in several of the issues that cropped up in the rioting that happened in the United States. It's like, dude, just stay away if you care about your own well-being and the well-being of your loved ones. Stay away from this stuff. It's not a great place to be, and you can get put into positions that into terrible positions that cause you to make terrible decisions. So I'm hoping everybody can stay safe and they can mellow out.
Speaking of, I've been waiting for this video. Actually, here's a car, and let me put the audio on for this one. And then I got 1 or 2 more I'm going to do the audio for, and then we'll head out. But we're gonna turn on the audio for this one. That wasn't even the one I thought it was, but you can see they let some cars pass and some cars not. So it was the ones, and it was based entirely on color of skin, which I mean, again, the man who first did this was darker skinned, but born in England. Wow. I know there was something else I wanted to say. I can't remember. We are going to do one more video after this. If you like the show, becoming a member is a great way to support us. You can also just join us on the Discord. A lot of people help out on the Discord. We're community driven. Most of our news comes from the Discord and comes from people in our community, for which, by the way, thank you all for that hard work. Also, you can join our Patreon. It's just another way to help out if you like what we do. It supports us and lets us keep doing it. So I hope you'll consider those if you're interested, and if you're not, don't worry, come in and at least enjoy the show. Hopefully you learn something. Our goal is to make sure that people learn and talk rather than fight, if at all possible. One person may not be able to be taught a whole heck of a lot. We are going to show you now some footage, and there was a little confusion about this. This was posted by a parody account on Twitter.
I love this video. It's so good.
The account is a parody account. However, this is a real, to the best of my understanding, we're confident that this is a real Press TV interview, and they are showing the interview. So despite the fact that the source is a parody account, this is an actual real interview that we felt, the Muslim ray guns is a huge problem. I think there needs to be that's why I said there's Israeli ray guns. The ray gun situation is just getting really out of control. We'll talk about that at some other point. We're going to end with this video, and once again, thank you all so much for joining us. Enjoy.
A quick disclaimer about this: the video is from quite a few years ago. It's not from any of the recent troubles. This is from quite a while back.
All right. Well, thank you for clarifying that. That is absolutely an important clarification. So, but espouses the same views that we are hearing, and we're getting double audio on that. And so, let me fix the double audio. That should fix it, and let me know immediately if there's an issue.
They get their law over our country. And it is happening. It's happening in other countries. Everything. It's happening in every country. It's like you've got the Iraqi law that they put down in London. Like we're more or less near London today, but they're trying to put the Iraqi law down on London. They're just trying to put their law down on us. And we can't stand for that.
Which Iraqi law is this?
It's the Islamic law. They've got their law. Obviously, it's their law, isn't it? Like we can't do anything about that. But we're just trying to stop Islamic. You've got Islamic rape gangs nowadays. There's 15-year-olds getting raped and everything. It just can't happen. That's why all these people are there. All these people around us, that's why they're there.
Thank you very much.
And by the way, that could have also just as easily been MAGA as far as I'm concerned. All right. Thank you. The dicks, just like the WTF. It's like, that's it. That's all they're... What the fuck? That's all you can say. Oh, shoot, I really got to get down on the swearing. All right, WTF. Thank you all very much for joining us, and we will see you all. We've got a downtime scheduled. Commander Lance McMillan will be joining us this Thursday night for our usual Thursday night hang, and we'll be staying on this as well as a couple of very other interesting stories coming out of the Middle East. Once again, rockets have been fired into the green zone in Iraq since... That actually happens if I recall, about 10 times a year anyway, but we're keeping an eye on all of that. Join us on the Discord to see what we're doing. Thank you all again for joining us. Have a great rest of your day.